Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body Culinary, and shout out to all of my early risers. I love taking advantage of the early wee hours of the day when it's so quiet. You can really hear your own divine, onboard, innate intelligence, which each and every one of us human beings was born with. So I have my water in a wine glass. It's nice and warm. You may want to add some fresh ginger or some lemon or some herbal tea because it's so soothing. So these are some of our lifestyle practices. It could be just simply warm water with lemon, water with ginger. And keep it simple. These are things that we have access to. And this early day, I want to come on to answer a couple of questions and inquiries and feedback from some subscribers. So this early day, we're going to touch on briefly on Loc Buildup and Seborrheic, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Seborrheic Dermatitis, right? And we're going to answer some feedback from a couple of subscribers. And so if you're interested in this conversation, please stay. You're welcome. You're invited to stay tuned to the end. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Body Culinary, professional chef, personal trainer, mother, natural born woman, which I love. Shout out to you, whatever your expression is. I'm loving being a womb carrier and the ability to have children and to nurture. I love it. I'm celebrating that on this channel. On this channel, I celebrate and share some of my journey of radical self-acceptance in an environment with so many people, entities, companies are competing to peddle products to me, which I have observed there's an undertone while they're selling me a solution. Something is stimulating an undertone, a foundational communication of I'm not enough without these products. Right? And I'm wary of anything that makes me dependent on it for my validation, external validation. That doesn't resonate with me. So on this channel, I've been on an exploration for numerous decades of radical self-acceptance, celebrating what I have been divinely assigned. And I have found actually what many of us are running away from, which we're kind of sold a bad bill of goods or, incorrect, a not efficient eyesight. I have found it is our greatest beauty mark. On this channel, I love to also share encouragement and motivation of 3 lifestyle practices, which I think all of us have access to. It's something we have access to independent of predators, pimps, con artists, marketers, things that we have access to. 3 lifestyle practices. Garden therapy, which is also food sovereignty. Peaceful consumption, food that loves you back, right? And then it's also cultivating a personal movement practice. These are 3 practices that have so many benefits. I couldn't even tell you in a few minutes. What I can tell you is these lifestyle practices will ground you. They have the potential to ground you, to nurture you, to make massive deposits into the 401k of your well-being, your emotional stability, your physical health, right? So the glasses of discernment, the glasses of discernment, understanding and comprehending who is communicating to you at any particular time. Is it an asset or a liability? Will you be left more depleted? Are you left motivated to get into action around the things that you say that you value? Many of us say that we value health. Many of us say that we value beauty, which I have decided to take off the table. Now, go with me here. Taking beauty off the table in the context is everything. A context that somebody else is writing the script, where it's a moving target and somebody's always moving the bar, and it's dependent on profit, which is not circulating back to and supporting me and me thriving economically, not supporting my safety, not supporting the education and the legacy of those with this unique DNA marker. So I've decided to snatch it back off the table. So those three lifestyle practices are something, whatever part of the globe you're on, even if you're not a person of Afro features, this Afro flower thing over here, they're principles that I think can perhaps help us to cultivate clarity and wisdom, my flowers. Clarity and wisdom have been hard earned. And in our teens and our 20s, we're at legal age, we think we know so much, we're so free. It's often when we can make some of the least effective and even maybe poor life choices that affect us for a lifetime. And a lot of those cues for our life choices were taken from random entities online with costumes and with their own agenda that doesn't necessarily have our longevity and vitality and our safety and our mental and emotional stability in mind. It is what it is. Anything I say on this channel, if it doesn't resonate, I invite you to leave it here. Take what resonates, what perhaps is useful, and leave the rest. I don't have all the answers for everyone. I'm not a Jesus Cristo. I'm not interested in being a martyr. I'm not here to save everyone. If there's something that you find here that inspires you to get into a personal movement practice, to nourish yourself with whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods as your primary fuel, maybe as your exclusive fuel, if you're inspired and motivated to get into a vigorous, joyous movement practice, then I'm fulfilling my purpose. Take it and run with it. And before I forget, you're invited to avail yourself of several resources that I've put together. One is Whole Living Foods in the Hood. It is a guide to eating and consuming as a lifestyle pattern whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods, right? With living water. Most of our body is water. So living water that's coming from cucumbers, coming from tomatoes, coming from bananas. I'm familiar, someone that's competing in fitness and a personal trainer with lots of powders. I'm keeping it so simple. People may think it's overly simple, but that is the foundation. It may be exclusive. You'll decide on the sweet spot and the ratio. So this is not, bragging rights. So I'm 100% raw vegan, or I did raw vegan last year. In your quiet moments by yourself, when we get quiet, we can know that what we need to do for ourselves. That's the ticket. That's what's really challenging when no one else is around to know if you're addicted. I was highly addicted to many junk foods. If you're binging because of emotional trauma and you're using food as a pacifier, so consuming whole, fresh, unprocessed foods, I have found takes a lot off the table because then I don't have to worry about foods. And when I know I've got a lot of nutrient dense living water and enzymes and fresh vitamins rather than something that's sitting in a Walmart or a discount store basket, then I take that off the table. Worrying about here, I've taken it off the table. There's a lot more that we could be doing to leverage our time, our energy, and attention. Our attention is a currency. It takes a lot of vitality, energy, and focus, which is a commodity. It's a commodity. Our focus is a commodity and a currency, and we may not realize that we're losing a lot of it. So, the best that we can do, I think, perhaps, is to look at how we can be efficient. We need energy and vitality and motivation to do that. If we're not taking in foods and energy that is nourishing us at a cellular level, then we won't have the energy to really finish the task and achieve the task with the same amount of enthusiasm that we started it with. So that is the effort. That is the love letter of whole, fresh living foods in the hood with menus to fit your budget, sample menus for different shops, different pictures of exactly what I've been doing. I put it together to leave a trail behind to shorten the learning curve for many folks. You're also invited to reach out to me. The contact is there on the side, the links for the resources, natural beauty, no products, raw vegan cakes workshop, no dehydrator, no artificial sweeteners. So you can have some things to look forward to. This is a lifestyle. You need some things to look forward to. And I invite you, as Grandma Lou says, stay busy, stay out of trouble. All you flowers, I invite you to your movement practice, the garden, and plan in your food so you can get some rest and you can get a focus and you can have some joy that is not dependent on outside validation. So these are some guides and some resources that I've put together. If you're perhaps dealing with a lot of acne and hyperpigmentation, I'm using food as the product. That's what I'm putting in, the product from the inside, because my cells, my skin cells, my liver knows the difference, right? Coming from a former chip addict and uh, so much different junk food. So those resources are over there, you know, on this little corner of the internet. Natural bodies matter. As long as our breasts and our womb is tumor free and it's healthy, it's all right. We've got really beautiful, healthy body parts. That's what counts over here. Greetings, Queen Ra. So I was really focusing on today. So today I wanted to touch in on some questions and some feedback from two subscribers. The first one is Creme Brulee 48. And her comment is, thank you for sharing this video. The video is, it's the end of the world and we can't get to our makeup palettes. Now what? So that's one of the recent videos here. She says, thank you for sharing this video. I'm comfortable being my natural self because my mom was comfortable being her natural self. We're blessed with good genes and are now armed with the knowledge to take care of ourselves from the inside using Earth's medicine. So we're aging well. People pay more attention to me when I wear makeup and treat me like the grown woman that I am. I would sometimes go through periods where I enhanced my brows, lids, lashes, and lips with a little makeup when I went to work or to hang out with friends. After a couple of weeks of that, I felt myself not liking the way I looked without the makeup. That felt dangerous for me, and I would go back to being barefaced every day. I still haven't figured out how to be treated like a grown woman without dropping my age, but I'm no longer willing to risk not liking the way I look. So I think that this was some really beautiful feedback. And let me say, I'm not anti anything. I like to focus on more on what I'm for and what works for me. You'll have to find your own sweet spot. So, if you want to play and express with eyeliner, and I'm not telling grown folks what to do. That's not what I'm here for. I'm sharing some of my journey. The distinction is in noticing your internal dialogue. This is critical. Why? Because it's the internal dialogue and that part of our mental processing that's called the ego. We give it different names. That is driving a lot of our self-sabotaging behavior, ranging from putting our reproductive organs in our bodies in harm's way, making poor choices, choices that are not very well thought out. It's coming from a place. So I have found with my own person, with myself, with my offspring, with clients, as much as we like to think it is effective bullying people or threatening people, it's not sustainable. It's very stressful. And it doesn't get to the root of the why of the behavior. So, a big clue and something we go over in the cocoon, also in the personal coaching. Also, contact me if you're interested in joining Flower Fit group coaching that is really circling around and diving into these lifestyle practices. The contact information is there. So we're looking at what's that internal dialogue. So for you, if you can notice when you take off these playful expressions that you feel a mental letdown, or if you can listen, like slow down and discern, listen to your thoughts, right? The thoughts that are coming up in your mental processing in your mind, like, wow, if you find yourself saying, I can't go outside like this, no one is going to like me. I feel ugly. Or, ooh, like, it's a tone. It is actually a tone that if someone was speaking to us or communicating this way to us on the street, we would be really, really hurt. There's a part of our mental processing for many of us that this kind of dialogue is going on all day in the backdrop. And so it drives us to spend erratically and impulsively. A lot of our spending is impulsive. So this seems to say that the marketing companies, predators, manipulators are understanding our psyche more than we do. and that there are entities and people, and not muka joke, it's just it's simple. Folks that look to prey off of vulnerabilities, that they're understanding how to manipulate fear, which human beings have. We just do. And insecurities. It's been manipulated through religions, poverty pimps, con artists, some with suits on and some that are hood. It's being manipulated all the time. So I am humbled by it to notice it. If we don't have an awareness of something, it is highly likely that we will be unable to change it. And I've been in the fitness and the nutrition industry for years, and I'm always fascinated by the fact that still more books come out, more New Year's resolutions. Does it ever occur to us that something is missing? So Creme Brulee says um, she noticed that she noticed myself not liking the way I look without the makeup, and that's where it's at for me. So for me, part of the exercise, the prescription that I have written for myself that I have experienced is I went through a whole period for years of not wearing, and I was never a big makeup wearer. If anything, a little mascara or some jewelry. For me, to get to the root of it, of taking everything off. So no mascara, no lip gloss, not even natural lip glosses. And interesting is how this has paralleled with my living foods journey. And I've been eating healthy for years, for decades. But there are these little subtleties because food is huge in your toolbox and our tool. However, there's a point to get to that's beyond food. And I find folks are actually resistant to that. It's key. So we can get off of the whole stroll, right? Of being dependent on products and personalities to understand what's going on within our own psyche. And a lot of it at the root is trauma based, right? So we can be really relaxed about it and we can listen. We can tap into and leverage our own divine onboard innate intelligence. Then perhaps you're welcome to be free and express as much as you like. So the period of me going without anything allowed me to address a lot of my fears and even insecurities around how other people were thinking about me. What would clients say if they could see all the hyperpigmentation and the marks? When for me, I knew I needed to let my skin rest, let my liver rest from all the years of junk food I was eating. That stuff had to come out. Better out than in. Better that stuff come out and my eliminative organs and my liver, my kidney and my spleen and my colon do what they were meant to do rather than being clogged up, that they're processing old waste, right? Which just doesn't come out with one green juice or one 2 day cleanse after years of stuffing it, allowing my body to do what it knows how to do and observing the process lends itself to sustainability. It lends itself to us not constantly going back and forth for years. You actually, the I have found the reward is a sense of clarity and confidence that is unshakable, that is not bent off of I think or I wonder or religion. It's built on direct experience. So at this point, I've said often, people can try to sell me all kind of products. I've done so many supplements. I spent so much money in supplements, powders, herbs. I don't regret it. All of it has brought me to a place of clarity. But I know for a fact how my body responds to hydrogenated oils, canola oil, soy oil, fruit juice sweetened lollipops, organic Oreos out of the health food store, like clockwork. I could feel the pimples in my skin. So that's a clear communication to me. I'm very, very clear on what foods are very hard to digest, what causes gas and bloating. I have observed, and I can observe if I'm triggered to eat mindlessly, even if it's health food. So there's another space to get to that is experiential. We can keep reading books, and books are great. Direct experience, though, can give you a clarity and a foundation that will allow you to go from being on the negative side to getting to ground zero to getting to another level of results. So I really think that this really is it hitting something. It's really, really hitting something. If we could just stay with ourselves through the process, right? Take a lot of the distraction off the table so you can hear, you have an intelligence that doesn't need a middleman or middlewoman. Just to tap into it, not usually encouraged. We hear the words, but it's a mixed messages going on out here. We're not really encouraged to listen and to go along with the ride and hold space for ourselves. I want to thank Creme Brulee 48 for that feedback. And we have another piece of feedback from another subscriber. Let's see. And this is coming from Lady Spinster. Lady Spinster says, I'm loving your channel. Thank you, Lady Spinster. I began water washing 2 weeks ago. So she was responding to me water washing. I've been doing a lot of water washing. I use tea sometimes. And I found alternatives to rose water because I'm all about those Afronomics and Afroflowernomics over here. That's what I'm calling it. I began water washing 2 weeks ago, and it has cleared up my scalp seborrheic dermatitis. May I ask how often you water wash? Is there no lock buildup just from the natural oil in the scalp? I ask because I'm in a country where we only have small hot water tanks, so I can only do a 4-minute wash before the water gets cold. Thank you so much. Love from Croatia. And I've actually been to Croatia before. So that's so interesting. I didn't know what Croatia was years ago when I was there. And I had a little fade with my little pesse and pesse. That's another way of saying the starter locks now that people are doing with a sponge and a washcloth. That's how I was rocking it back then. So it's interesting that she mentioned seborrheic dermatitis. There are lots of videos about that on YouTube, and some recent videos also. Somebody mentioned there's a type of, I can't, if it's CCNR, there's a type of also of alopecia, something that we can see. One of somebody very dear to me is dealing with alopecia, and then I hear a lot of have seen a lot of videos on people talking about dermatitis, which is one of the reasons why people go to the old school Head and Shoulders or to sulfur 8 or to putting tea tree and all these different things in the scalp. Right. This is like a lot of us buying all these supplements. One time I was buying Proactive. At one point I was like, I can't take this. I had all this ripped up muscle and I'm eating all this healthy food, and my skin was looking gravelly, cystic acne, whiteheads, blackheads, like the sidewalk. I was like, I'll take the Proactive. That didn't work either. So the food and the movement practice. So it's interesting that she's saying the water washing has cleared up her dermatitis. So dig the magnitude of that. It's the same thing that I'm saying with the food. The simplicity, the how profound the simplicity is, and in doing something for a long enough period of time, allowing your body knows what to do. So when we just stop stuffing the body with substances masquerading as food, and we stop clogging the scalp, I was kind of scared and kind of anxious about uh, not oiling my scalp, because this is what we're raised conditioned to do with this cottony dry hair. Dry doesn't mean brittle. There's actually a distinction, right? This style lends itself to I don't have to do anything. So I've been water washing, and I started to notice there's a sheen, but it's just not the other hair. It's not our vanilla counterparts. It's two different things. We have differences. We synthesize. We need more vitamin D because of our melanin. So the more I'm rinsing this, sometimes I might rinse it every other day. I would say as you participate in your journey, you can start to feel your hair, right? So I don't know how, if you're in Croatia and it's colder, I don't know how much time, how you time your drying of your hair. My hair dries very quickly because it doesn't have the oil in it. It's these little distinctions. So sometimes it's like with carbs, we're throwing everything into one pot. There are subtleties and differences, just as there are subtleties and differences in our different bodies, our different makeup, our different life histories. So you can wash it. I don't know how long your hair is. You can wash it every day if you want. You may want to get some distilled water. A couple of weeks ago, I went with another sister friend. We went to a mountain. We were making runs to get bamboo and soursop and all this stuff. And she had a spot we went to with the mountain. She had her bottles right in the truck, and we brought out some bottles, and we got mountain water, fresh water. So my alarm is going off. So we bottled that up. So I know that's going to be a lot different than the water coming out of the tap. Also, why invite you flowers to your garden therapy is because it's going to tap and spark a whole set of light bulbs and intelligence that we're not getting because we're not in the process. So, for example, when I'm watering the plants, if I hook up the hose to the house and the water is coming from the faucet, the plants respond totally different than they do to rainwater. I get massive growth when it rains. Distinction. What is that? So that's because there's no chlorine inside the rainwater, right? There is good bacteria inside of the soil. If I put chlorine or bleach into it, what happens? So this is just to illustrate there are these little nuances that are missing because we're not engaged. We don't have access to them. We can intellectualize all day long, which is what we see. You know, there are benefits to science, there's benefits to allopathic medicine and holistic medicine. However, we'll always be at the mercy of different scientists with their theories. You will never be able to discern and to see what to take and what to leave if we're not engaged in the process. You don't have access. You'll always be on the, I call it the whole stroll, where you're totally dependent on somebody that's making things up as they go along if you're never consistently in the process. I hope this makes sense. Question: when you stop using oils on your hair, how long did it take to notice less shedding of your locks? How long did it take? I don't know that I don't know if so much as shedding. So again, here's the nuance. So let me hold on to that. Let me make sure that I addressed totally her thing. Oh, okay. So she said no. She first of all, the inflammation or the irritation from the seborrheic. I'll come right back to your question, Queen Rock. The seborrheic dermatitis disappeared. Why? Likely she's soothing it with water every day. She's not going through the cycle back and forth of stripping the scalp, and this hair, the oils get stripped very naturally because we're putting so much oil and stuff that gets caught, like in carpet. If I put oil and butter into carpet, so it's a little different because of the styling, or you don't need the same styling with this untwisted, kinky, cottony hair. So you'll have to a certain degree, periodically strip it. When I last used oil, it gave a little sheen, but almost inevitably, not almost inevitably, the dust and the dirt would start getting attracted to it more, and it would get a heaviness. That's just, what went with it. So the scalp being able to breathe, this is, I feel like I've taken plastic bags off of my scalp, and I'm massaging it constantly. So I'm getting circulation in addition to my movement practice, gently massaging it. It's like a freedom where you have access to the water. So her scalp is getting soothed from the massage and now the layers of stuff not being on it. Now, initially, for me, I liked the way the oil felt initially, and then it started to get hardened. My hair started to get stiff. If you go back on this channel, at one point, and I didn't deal with chemicals, I kind of damaged my hair because at one day I just woke up, my hair felt like a Twinkie. I don't know if you know what Twinkies are, those cakes. Well, it felt like it was a waxy substance on it, and I couldn't get it off. So that's the first time I tried to do a cider vinegar baking soda rinse. That with this already delicate hair, that was extreme. It got the stuff out after washing it over and over. So perhaps this can shorten your learning curve and save you time. That's too much trauma. This hair is already delicate. It's already had scabs from perms. It's already, my ears were already burnt off. This already doesn't grow back from too tight braids. So all of this is, it's too much. I would say, just in my humble observation, the hair is not flourishing because we're destroying the mantle. I think they call it the acid mantle of the hair. It's like detox to retox. We're actually weakening the gut flora when we do that. It's too many extremes instead of leaving it alone to flourish. So initially, you may need to if you decide to explore no products or oils, you may need to wash your hair. You may want to trim it or just leave the length. I have found, and shout out to Queen Abike Idowu, shout out to Ingrid from Toronto, shout out to Nonconformist Eyewear, shout out to Tumi Johnson. So those are some of my favorite folks on YouTube who have what I call it freedom hair. That's what I'm calling it. They're not big on a whole bunch of products. They're using either Nonconformist uses black soap, Uh, Ingrid uses a natural shampoo. I use a natural shampoo. If and when I can do away with it, I will. And I don't need it all of the time. If you stop putting the stuff in, you don't have to work like a demon to get it out. And the longer, see, most of us don't have a movement practice consistently over a period of time. Most of us haven't experienced not putting oils in the hair consistently over a period of time. Most of us have not experienced eating whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods over a long, extensive period of time. So you never get to that point where you can really learn the ratios and feel the nuances of what's going on there. So, first point, the scalp is freed up because it's like the scalp can breathe. So then it can flourish. So that's without now putting sulfate and all these different products on her scalp. Also, she said, is there no lock buildup from just a natural oil on the scalp? So that would be the sebum. So if you're doing this for a long enough period of time, there are times where I can, after initially washing it, I can feel the sebum, which will feel like a waxy substance. I used to watch a channel called Water Only Washing, and I really liked her channel. She's really talking about scritching, and maybe Green Beauty, who has a fantastic channel, lots of education on black hair and learning about um, the porosity of your hair, which is important. I always get mixed up between them, but I do know if I put water on my hair right now, you'll see all the water sitting on top of my hair. So just learning about the characteristics, um, of my hair, right? Once you take all of that stuff off of the table and we get to the buildup. There's no heavy locks or buttons. I don't need them because I'm not trying to hold a twist in, right? I'm not trying to make these cylindrical. They come out flat, so I have embraced a lot. So that's consistently where we're going. At this point, these are flat. I cannot make these round. That's just like going upstream. That's going against the grain. I'm not willing to do that. That's too much stress. It's not a good use of resources and mental energy. So I can feel the sebum on it. And there are times I can notice a little bit of a gray hue, but I can just simply with the warm water when I'm massaging my hair, it's almost like a conditioner. Now, it's not going to be the same thing as loose natural, right? Because our hair is not straight like our vanilla counterparts. When it's in the double strand twist, you can kind of work it down the length of the hair. If you're washing it on a regular basis or rinsing it, it's I find it kind of can make your hair a little softer but not stiff. So this is just a natural process. It's not a massive buildup though. It is not a massive buildup of oil, right? It's just a natural oil that comes out. Now, some of us may have oilier scalps than others. I don't know what your food consumption patterns are. I eat a tremendous amount of good fat. I eat lots of fresh coconut. I press my own coconut cream with the plant milk bag. I eat avocados. I eat sesame seeds, whole, unhulled sesame seeds, ground nuts, sprouted legumes on a regular basis. So I'm not really obsessing about fats. I get that in, and I do that intentionally so I don't have to take pills. So again, I've taken that off of the table. So no, I don't have buildup because of the natural oil in the scalp. I'm rinsing it often enough and massaging that into my scalp. And lastly, she said, I asked because I'm in a country, I only have small hot water tanks and the water goes cold. So I can dig it in the part of the world where I'm at right now. Um, there's we have water catchment systems. I can feel the difference. I used to live more in the bush. When I was in the bush, all I bathed in was a creek. I had, when I say I had no products, all I had was some lime and creek water. And my skin was exquisite. Like I could feel the difference because of the difference. There's no chlorine inside of the water. So that's all I had. Now, back in the creek, my hair felt wonderful. My skin felt wonderful with no products, nothing. A lot of times I didn't even have oil. So I found that my skin normalized, and I could see the difference when I would come back to New York and I would take a bath with all of this chlorine. See, these are little differences that we may not notice. So I found a big difference. I can smell the chlorine now in the water. I can taste chlorine in the water. which is why I opt a lot for the living water inside whole, fresh, living foods, right? And you want to do the best that you can and find what practices that you have that are sustainable. Because to be putting all these products on the outside and to not really acknowledge that the foundation is what you're putting on the inside, it just doesn't make sense. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Or maybe that's not the expression, but it doesn't make sense. It's like that's why I was like it's a mindset where we're trying to work from the outside and put a package on the outside, right? It's kind of, how can I describe it? It's kind of like, and you'll know in your moments, the times where I had massive breakouts of acne and cystic acne, I was using the makeup to cover up what was going on, right? Because, oh my gosh, what's wrong with her face? Or she's so fit. Why does she have all this acne? It's covering up something's going on with my health. This is not to make us feel bad. Something is going on with my health. My liver is not metabolizing what I'm putting into it. The amounts are off. Something is off, right? So a lot of times I have found we're using cover ups to mask what is going on internally. And it doesn't necessarily, we can kind of get complacent with that and not address the underlying issues of our gut health, of absorption of the food, right? Of food combinations, or the quality of food, or eating too much because we're stressed out, or not eating enough of real food. So, I hope that answers. Well, that was Lady Spinster. Thank you for your question. And so, back to Queen Ron. When you stopped using oils, how long did it take to notice less shedding? Um, I would say this, right? Because there were times I tried oil because it felt good initially. It felt so good, but then I noticed the stiffness and the heaviness, and then I noticed like a gray hue, and I was like, I like to get off of the cycle of certain things. So I would say I just stopped using oils because I was like, I don't want to clog my scalp. I don't want oil on my face, and I like the light feeling of locks. So I had to make the mental adjustment first. Then, when I'm smoothing my hair inside of the shower and also noticing how long it took to dry, I would notice if there were little broken pieces. So I would say I can notice almost within a matter of days when my hair dried, or the time where I got the twinkie hair. That was buildup that I've never really experienced. This was just with oils and natural products. I noticed that when I stripped it, to get all of that gunk out, that Twinkie out with the cider vinegar and the baking soda, I got it out. That came at a cost to my hair. And that's probably why I have so much. I'm constantly cutting off a lot. So people are freaking, we wouldn't experience the length, but I could see whether I like it or not. All the shells, this is delicate hair. I love the shells. All the shells, times I was trying to band it with rubber bands, and definitely the baking soda and the cider vinegar, it stripped the hair, whatever that acid mantle is. Again, shout out to Queen Abike Adowu. Because not many people talk about it or notice the little subtleties. This is all very, very weak, so it will likely break. This is different. This is stronger. This is where, and the hair also has more of a base, and I just allowed it to be flat. I'm not twisting it and pulling at my scalp, which is very painful. It's just like if I leave the grass here. Sometimes when I do a video, you may notice you'll hear grass cutters all the time. Grass here grows like nothing. People want such a manicured garden, and then people are noticing permaculture when you leave a lot of plants and they support each other, they hold moisture inside the ground. This is again why I encourage you all to start a garden. So the permaculture, you have all of these different plants. It doesn't look as neat, but the earth, things start growing like wild when you leave a lot of them. Even some weeds, you leave them to flourish. It's night and day. It's not being so intellectual. It's noticing what comes naturally. When does this naturally flourish, y'all? When you leave it alone, but we're so, maybe this is not you. If it's not you, let it fly. We're so afraid and we've been conditioned that we're gonna get the judgment. We're gonna get you don't wash your hair. You're gonna get feedback from your spouse and people on the job. So it really takes something within yourself to make a commitment to yourself, to go along for the journey, to experience health, mental health, not taking in everybody's opinion, as well as celebrating and see what styles and what works for this unique DNA stamp that we have been divinely a sign. Queen Ra, she asked, oh, let me see some of your questions. So that was to Queen Ra. She said, when you stop using oils, I notice less. So shedding for me, I know shedding is looks a couple of ways. These areas that are very weak, they shedding is they start to break off, or I help them break off by trimming them and saying, hey, I'm not going to be so attached. For me, psychologically, holding on to something that's not working me is worn out. Like holding on to, I just threw out some of my favorite African dresses. Oh my God, I've had them for years, but psychologically, they're done. It's like holding on to some old underwear that's stretched out, but they're your favorites. I let them go. It's with relationships, sometimes we don't want to let them go. So for me, psychologically, the hair is like, cut it off. You're gonna hold on to it with some thread, it can't take it. Let it go. So that's one type of shedding. And then the other shedding is as I'm smoothing my hair, I'm feeling my hair. If I notice broken pieces on the side of the sink, that means that I've stripped it. So that's why I'm embarking more or shifting the ratio of more water washing with warm water and massaging and blotting with a towel to be very gentle on this already delicate. It's delicate cotton. It's cottony carpet. So it's not the silky. It's different. So that's what I would say. And I don't know how long. Maybe it took like not even with a week or 2 weeks to just notice as I'm putting my hands in my hair. And I don't have the fear of putting my hands in my hair because I'm not twisting it. So there's nothing for me to do. It's a lot taken off the table. Queen Ra also asked, "What do you do for deodorant?" I'm trying to go on after, but I'm realizing the reality. My eating habits have to be consistent for these things to work. Is this true? I found it to be true. You may found something else. So I've tried everything in 30 years. I've tried everything on the market. I'm big. I will pay money for my food and my health. Also, as a personal trainer and someone that's like worked out for hours on myself, then with clients and jumping into yoga, going from one activity to the other. I cannot be stinky and smelling pungent and spicy with clients, and I want to smell myself, right? Also, over the years, for a large part of my life, I've worn a short peach fuzz. So I'm used to personal trainers being over me, massage therapists and colon therapists being over me, also other trainers and fitness people being over me. So I'm very sensitive in my nose, so I'm sensitive to smell. So I'm not interested in being funky. And I've tried everything. I've tried the stone, I've tried natural deodorants. I have noticed most of them, even the ones when they work, that they stop working very quickly. I don't know, somehow if your body's chemistry adapts to them. What I use and what I have found effective, what has been working for me for years, is baking soda. I've tried lime. So many people talk about lime. I lived in the bush with a whole bunch of people, and I'm gonna be honest. Everybody was raw living foods, and I was smelling straight bo. And they're now interesting. It didn't smell like you stinky and you're living on the street and don't have, no offense to our fellow human beings living on the street that don't have access to be able to cleanse and immerse yourself in water and to exfoliate. I could smell that people had healthy, they were healthy, but I know it was pungent body odor. And also some of the younger people that I was around who their bodies were changing in puberty, just very, because everybody was all natural, extremely pungent BO. So you might have kind of got used to it, but a lot of times it was very, very strong because everybody was in the garden. We had a very active lifestyle. So what I have found, the simplest thing that I have found that has worked for me over the years is baking soda. Now, initially, when I first started using baking soda, and I believe my son also found this, is that it can chafe your underarm. So I've tried several things, right? Because again, also was spending a lot of money on fitness gear. When you have your white workout tops, you got to look away, a high end gym. You don't want yellow stains. So I've tried shea butter. I've tried also when I shave my arms to do that at night and not to put anything on it initially. And then I'll put cold pressed coconut oil to soothe. And I've gone through my period too of not shaving my underarms. These are things we can all try. This is not about other people's judgment. This is your own journey. So, in a nutshell, periodically, if when I shave my underarms, I'll soothe it with coconut oil and use a good quality shaver and only shave in one direction so I don't have any kind of razor bumps. Um, and then also periodically, let's see.
Oh, what I want to say is you can put shea butter or coconut oil, especially if you wear sleeveless, on to soothe and get your body used to it. And I actually take a little container with a powder puff and use a powder puff to lightly apply the baking soda. So you can put a little bit of coconut oil or shea butter if your arms are not used to it, right? Coconut oil is also antimicrobial, and then put the baking soda on it. And I found now it's not an antiperspirant what's going to stop you from sweating. I am comfortable with sweating. When it comes, folks, to and ladies, to our lymph nodes and our lymphatic drainage, that is an important drainage system of waste, right? This is also what we're talking about inside of Flower Fit. So feel free to reach out to contact me at body-culinary info at body-culinary.com and bodyculinary@gmail.com if you would like to get an application and apply to um, private coaching. So that can be made available to more women. I need to see who the people are and who's in it. It's a private platform, so it's not so random like YouTube. But anyway, going back to the lymphatic system, we have different points at which the lymphatic system is draining. And a very important part is underneath the arms. My son's first babysitter, who had cancer many years ago, almost 30 years ago, when she got cancer, this is years ago, I'll never forget, they told her to get a juicer and to stop using deodorant, right? Aluminum, not good for our brains. I know the cheap frying pans and they look nice, but all of that stuff when you're washing and scraping that stuff off and it's going into it's affecting your brain. So we don't want aluminum. There's already enough metals coming a lot of times out of the pipes in the faucet system. So we try to clean it up a little bit with the Brita filters, but that's not enough. So this is not a totally pristine environment, but the more we can have a buffer between these harsh chemicals that do not belong inside the body, that contribute to dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, right? For me, the goal, call it simplistic, is to keep myself out of the medical facilities. And prevention is better than cure. If we keep going detox to retox, it's too much extreme. It's aging the body. So it's the baking soda. I don't stink. If I go and I work out, then I go do a quick wash and I'll reapply. So it's not an antiperspirant, it's a deodorant. It's neutralizing odor. That I found to be the most sustainable, cost effective, and I don't stink. It's effective in terms of me not smell like funkeration. Monique 88, she says, uh, I mix baking soda, coconut oil, shea butter, and cocoa butter, a few drops of essential oil. And if you're using essential oil, for you folks that are not familiar with essential oils, you'll need to run out and buy every essential oil. I used to have every essential oil. Sometimes we just be in overdrive, making our little concoctions. Tea tree oil and many essential oils, we always want to buffer them with a carrier oil because a lot of them, I know somebody actually, she's very interesting. She has this thing. She likes tea tree oil straight. Tea tree oil can burn your skin. Many of the peppermints and eucalyptus can actually burn your skin. So before you apply them, you want to watch how many drops. You don't need a lot. It's very, very potent. Sometimes I know, and when you're taking classes, and if I'm teaching, or if I have a client or yoga studios, it can really make other people nauseous. And sometimes the scent is so overpowering, it can be offensive to others. So just a little little bit, teeny drops of essential oil to a whole container. Make sure that it's mixed thoroughly. So baking soda, I have found I use baking soda as multi-purpose. Years ago, when I was wanted to clean my house very naturally, and I didn't want my son sitting in a tub of Ajax, I switched off. I used to buy big gallons of Castile soap and baking soda, and I use that, and vinegar. Those are cost effective. They're cost effective, and I wanted to feel comfortable that I wasn't putting all these chemicals into my skin and definitely not into my child's skin. So again, I like to take a lot off the table. I have several things that I can shop for inexpensively and I keep on hand. I keep those things piled up. Like if you've got any West Indian folks in your life, and those grandmas, they keep washcloths, soap powder, all kind of stuff. I keep vinegar. I keep baking soda. I keep cold pressed castor oil. I keep coconut oil. These are staples within my house, as well as looking to the things that I have in my yard. My problem Queen Ra says, my problem, these natural deodorants are making my armpits dark. Well, again, if you could try, well, perhaps you'll have to likely have to experiment to see what works best. If it's too harsh, you may just need that buffer um, between your skin and the baking soda. And I found the simple solution is using a powder puff. I have the a little coconut oil and a powder puff, and make sure you haven't just recently shaved, and then put that stuff underneath your arms. So there's so much to be said for the a natural lifestyle, and that is one of the benefits of YouTube. It can perhaps not perhaps it allows us to communicate and to peek into inside each other's kitchens and bathrooms for some tips on what is other folks are using, and try it on for size to see if it works for you, or if it doesn't, and try, because it could be these little teeny tweaks to tweak something that works for you. I can tell you there's so many hairstyles for years I tried with very, very fine hair. When I tried them, I even spent money to go to the best braiders, and it didn't look the same. And I used to be so heartbroken. And I didn't know anything about the porosity of my hair. Um, yeah, and I didn't even think I had thin hair, fine hair. I just knew, and I'd rather call it fine hair than thin hair. I'm very careful of the words that we're using to ourselves and the connotations that are attached to these words. I don't think it benefits us to shame ourselves, shame each other, and to put ourselves down, because that is habitual, and that'll have you medicating. It comes through the back door. So really embracing this sponge, not twisting it. I have found it's like eureka. It's a godsend. It frees up your time, attention, energy, resources, so you can move on to some other stuff. You're welcome, Queen Ra, and take a lot of stuff off of the table. That's why I told you, natural bodies matter. So the Flower Fit Coaching and Community. I believe I have there the email if you're interested in getting an application. You can apply. Again, I need to know for anybody that is going to be moving with us so that you can stay safe. I need to be able to identify people who you are so I can see you proper form, and also for safety reasons. I want to see exactly who is coming through, and the intention is to create a supportive community. That is what the feedback that I've gotten is that people really enjoy the sense of community. I like community around an activity, right? Not this cult business that's going on, but coming together around. Queen, you can send me a request for an application at bodyculinary@gmail.com, or info at body-culinary.com. Today, actually, we're going to be meeting today for those folks that have done the 3 and 7 day nutritional reset. So that is 3 and or 7 days of whole, fresh, living food. So uh, that is how I'm making some of my simple 30 years of experience in food and fitness, and being a chef and doing every kind of health craze you can think of. It is so freeing to find a way to eat where you just take that off the table and you're not worried about dieting, so you can move on to other things. Folks are benefiting from seeing each other's meals. A lot of folks may not realize, like, some of the recipes are expecting a lot of powders and pills. We're using real whole food, and you would be amazed at all the different things you can do with one ingredient. So if you're doing the 3 and 7 day nutritional reset, that's the point of entry for many people. You will get a menu and a meal plan and a shopping list, and then you will get a private link to community. And we meet on we meet on Sundays, and I will likely be making some community classes and some community flash classes. So if you are on the mailing list, that is the way to get entrance, because everything is not for YouTube. So do apply. The community, the more you have, uh, positive support coming together around specific activities, and those lifestyle practice and activities are garden, your movement practice, and peaceful consumption. We're taking a lot off the table. You want to have something to look forward to. You want food you can look forward to. movement and stress release that you can look forward to, and a sense of community coming together around a specific purpose, around a specific purpose. Again, it's cultivating a movement practice, as garden therapy, as well as there's food sovereignty is built into that, and peaceful consumption, putting deposits into the 401k of your body. So if you don't have the book, I highly recommend that you get it so you don't have to wait. A lot is in it in terms of shopping lists and budgets, whole living foods in the hood with menus to fit your budget. Download it so you can also have access into the mindset. That's the shortcut. People are trying to quickly get a program but not change their mind. When you start to know why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to give you tremendous clarity. That's what's going to help you um, be sustainable, as well as give you the clarity to know. For example, we were just recently talking about, and I've been researching more, which I've known for years, but more information on how fried foods dramatically age the cells, the epithelial cells, dramatically age. And I was a Mickey D's. I was a French fry addict. I couldn't get enough of that crunch and that oil. So I'm looking at this research and I'm absolutely horrified. I'm horrified by how addicted. I feel so fortunate. I was addicted. So there are many things that I'm amazed and I'm humble. And I'm not here to put anybody's food choices down. But it's amazing to me that certain things don't occur to me as food anymore. It occurs as substances masquerading as food. So once I wrap my mind around that truth, then I know now it's time for me to get busy and get creative with real food that I can recognize it. If it's not real, if I can't recognize it, if I can't recognize it, I'm not gonna eat it. And this was coming from somebody, I used to say greedy, but more so than greedy, there's a fixation, and maybe it's different. Maybe folks in France don't have it as much. I like to understand the why, and I'm humbled, and I give myself and I hold space for myself and others. Rather than beat up on ourselves, I acknowledge that if you have been exposed to trauma, if you have been on the receiving end of trauma, if you have witnessed many folks being mishandled, if you have been mishandled intimately, if you have witnessed violence, you're the ideal person to give drugs or alcohol to, right? The coping mechanisms, we're more likely prone to addiction. It doesn't make us bad people. It's a way to chemically make ourselves feel better. And there's some addictive substances that are more socially acceptable because they're profitable, that are more socially acceptable than others, right? And food is one of the biggest addictions going, in particular, substances masquerading as food. Because I could tell you, I could see it directly in my elimination, in my body odor, in my ability to be satiated. That's a huge one. Because if you are stuffed, if you are not even stuffed, if you're satiated, many of us, many of us don't know what it's like to really be hungry in terms of being deprived of overall calories. Many of us have never experienced a protein deficiency in the United States of America. Also, many of us don't know what it's like to be satiated. I call it the sweet spot, where you're not stuffed. The meal was beautiful and colorful, and you feel full but not overstuffed. Many of us are not experiencing it. Many of us are just doing sugar, salt, fat, sugar, salt, fat, sugar, salt, fat, which is connected to how we are processing a lot of emotions. So many of us don't know what that feels like. Well, if I came and offered you one of my delicious slices of cake, it's like, I really want to eat that cake, but I'm literally not hungry, right? So a lot of this is psychological. Even obesity, there's a pattern of morbid obesity in my family. Rather than making ourselves bad or wrong and shaming ourselves and each other, it's reverse starvation, and it is connected to our mental and emotional health, with basically how we're coping with stress, or how we're coping ineffectively with stress, and not having enough consistent ways to manage stress. We hear manage stress. What the heck does that mean? Having a stress outlet on a regular basis for many of us, especially as women. When something happens with your budget, your lifestyle, you move, what's the first thing to go out of the window? Your gym membership, your self-care. And the foundation of self-care is what you're eating and your movement practice. I like to make it simple. I need it simple so I can get about the business of what needs to be done. First thing that gets trashed out of the window, and we start making rationalizations and justifications as if that's not a skewed formula, as if we could keep taking care of other people, right? And part of this is our ego, and that's identifying with being the martyr. That's a whole nother story. As if we could keep doing that, and we're not going to drop the ball somewhere, or we can do that indefinitely. That's a lie. That's not true. You can't keep nourishing people. At some point, you're going to implode. You're going to self-medicate. You're physiologically going to stress yourself. You're going to have dramatic long-term overproduction of cortisol, which is going to make you what? And insulin. You become insulin. Your body can't handle insulin, and you will start storing everything as adipose tissue, the technical term for fatty tissue. I can't tell you how many folks that I know that are technically obese that tell me I don't eat anything. They're not saying if we're already been eating lots of substances masquerading as food because the sugar, salt, fat tastes good and it's a party in your mouth, and we're using that to calm ourselves like a cigarette, and we're not moving enough, and we're stagnant, and we're medicating our minds with these screens, we're kind of numbed out, like kind of like a drug addict. If this don't resonate, please leave this right here. We're like functional drug addicts and giving each other a high five, and we're doing it socially at baby showers. They become a lot of times glutton fests. And everybody's doing it. And as long as you're not falling over and you can still fit in your clothes and it looks great, nobody's gonna say anything to you, right? If there's Nobody's gonna say anything to you, because we can make ourselves look good from the neck up, the wrist down, and the ankle down. And we say that black doesn't crack. We do crack on the inside. Our cells are cracking. Cancer cells are proliferating. The cells know the difference. So that's all I'm going to say today. That's all I'm going to say today. You are welcome. If you would like to be proactive in change, if you would like to be proactive, your movement practice, garden therapy, peaceful consumption, food that loves you back, food that is not depositing a tremendous amount of waste, that food that can't be metabolized, food that's making you have hard, dry rocks in the toilet. You will see a dramatic difference when you're eating whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods with a tremendous amount of living water. See? And then perhaps you add some education to learn how to prepare those foods. This has so many dramatic implications into your spending plan, your budget, stress relief. To me, it's like it's all built in. It's built in. The lifestyle is something. These practices have the potential to really ground you. As Grandma Lou would say, you stay busy, you stay out of trouble. And it's not just stay busy with some activities like this is like tremendous for young women to see us enjoying dance, movement, garden, not putting our reproductive organs in harm's way out of low esteem and naivete. This is this is it's humongous. I think that it's absolutely humongous. So do feel free to reach out, download those resources, or you can get started right away. If you're interested in the nutritional reset, once you register for that, you will get your menu and you will get your shopping list. So feel free to support the channel if you like, comment respectfully, subscribe. I don't have subscribe. I don't have the only perspective. I'm just coming forth to share my 30 plus years of experience, right? So that we can make some deposits into the 401k of our body. Vitality, longevity. You can put whatever label on it you want. Vitality, longevity, vigorous, joyous movement. All right. So I'm inviting you all to create a great day on purpose. Hopefully, I'll see you for the nutritional reset and for Flower Fit. Right. This is a lifestyle. This is definitely a lifestyle. How can I say a lifestyle movement? The only one that makes sense to me. Well, I will say that. Let's see how you work this thing. That I don't consider myself a savior. I'm not here to browbeat people to eat healthy. There are some options. We have options with our hair, right? If somebody, folks dear to me, they're working at perm and whatever that stuff is in the weave, work. Sometimes you don't even know what's going on underneath there. I can't say what's going on inside people's personal lives. So I can appreciate someone whatever size you are. If we're in the plane is going down. Do I give two cookies with your preferences, what you're eating? If you got curly cues wrapped around your ears, I could care less. Respect is the minimum and the maximum over here. I do know, and I want to be very, very intentional around how I'm coming together with folks around a specific activity. Is enough of the other miscellaneous stuff. So it's Flower Fit Coaching and Community. It is open to all who are respectful in a safe space. So, yes, I'll be sharing a lot of my traditions. I can learn from anyone. I've been studying farm and grown food with some folks. They don't even know that they're my friends. And I definitely also celebrate my Afro, whether African American, Afro Caribbean traditions unapologetically. That being said, if you're respectful, you're welcome to come and join whatever your particular packaging is. So that I do need to be able to identify who people are after you register and you get an application, so that I can feel comfortable and in a safe space when I'm online, and it is a private platform. So that being said, I'm the only one makes sense. I'm just keeping it simple, child. I'm just keeping it real simple. My little natural body parts over here, no, this is what I've been assigned. If these are tumor and growth free, that's what's up. Because right now, I don't know if I did. Check out the Impromptu Beauty Conference. Check out what's the term for explant and breast implant illness. Breast implant illness, and I think it's really interesting. Shout out to my young flowers out here are arguing. This is natural because of this, and making rationalization for justification. I'm not here browbeating anything. Once the information is there, but for us to be putting ourselves in harm's way, I never thought I would see it, but it's here. We're putting ourselves in harm's way, and a lot of times we're not going to bounce back. With some of the damage we're doing, we're making the assumption that you can bounce back. What we're exposing ourselves to in terms of intimate physical relations and mental and emotional abuse, and some of the things we're stuffing our bodies with that are substances masquerading as food, and the things we're injecting and the alterations, we're making the assumption, in the absence of wisdom and a frame of reference, we're making the assumption that we can bounce back. Making the assumption, following all of these celebrities who you don't know, and you can't see how to, now you can actually see how some of them are living. But it's the hypnotic pace between the music and the food. The music and the food will have you offing yourself. Y'all, I invite you to create a night on purpose. Just because it says so, there's some relaxation videos on this channel. I invite you to replay this as you're chopping your vegetables, as you're decluttering, and as you are stretching in your personal movement area. If you got to create that, children or not, with your physio ball or just your mat and some plants, and keep that area very, very clear. Also, I'm going to be sharing in the community section something I'm doing called Yoga Warrior. That's coming up. So take a peek at the community section. I'll be sharing some more things there. Y'all create a great day.